Okay, so I have changed the setup because I'm blowing diodes quite a bit. So instead of constantly putting stake-ons on them and then having to throw them out, I've decided to go with just a terminal strip that I can replace them a lot easier. Boys, that's not even on there very good. Okay, so I have this capacitor, which is 10,000 microfarads. You might as well just say 10 microfarads at geez, I can't, what is it, 35 volts DC. Okay, what I found was that as a smaller capacitor came to 3 volts, the smaller capacitor here, that's 25 volts, when it was coming up to 3 volts, over 3 volts DC, that's when it would take out the diodes. Obviously it wasn't the capacitor doing it, but I think the dielectric was not saturated, but at a point that it wasn't absorbing the high voltage that is coming out of this, not really absorbing it as well, and because of that it was taking out the diodes, I believe. Now I'm using 2 diodes back to back, so it has 700 volts reverse bias breakdown on 2 of them. So by rights that should be fairly high for a breakdown voltage, but I guess considering I could be looking at anywhere from 5,000 volts or up with the setup I'm using now, that it's still not really adequate. So I might have to go back to my other setup where I had more windings, and that way there it will lower the voltage more. But right now I'm trying this 10 farad capacitor, 35 volts, and I've got it down to 36 millivolts right now. It's recovering a little bit, but nothing major. It actually does take more energy to charge this. Well, I'll just turn it on. The gap is very small. I was trying to keep the gap really small in order to try to not take out the diodes, but it still took them out. So there's the first spark. As you can see, with a larger capacitor, it's obviously not going to charge as fast because it's much larger. This capacitor is 10,000 microfarads, where the other capacitor was 680 microfarads, I'm pretty sure. It is charging it up. Oh, another thing is, I found I didn't need that spark gap down there. The spark that's going on there is discharging the inside of the capacitors, so it's still pulsing the system that way. So, but it seems that the voltage is a lot higher. The electrostatic voltage is a lot higher. It's charging up to, I don't know what 1/8 of an inch is. If you go by the theory of 1/4 of an inch is 10,000 volts, that'd be roughly 5,000 volts. So the bottom of these capacitors could be around 5,000 volts. But this is another test I'm doing, but I think I'm going to have to go with the bigger coils now that I have this setup going. It seems the potential is greater for some reason right there, as opposed to coming off of the electrodes, the short out electrodes. It's much better much better supplied voltage, I guess it would be, that I found. It's a lot easier setup. You just use one set of coils and it's charging, and as you can see, it charges pretty good. We're at 1/2 a volt here now, but yeah, I don't want to make it too long. It's charging well. I'll just have to see. I want to bring it up to 3 volts and higher and see if it can handle it. My assumption is that even if it does hit 3 volts or something, it still may take out the diodes, due to the fact that I think the spacing of the dielectric is roughly the same from 25 volts to 35 volts. So the extra capacitance, I think, is just more wraps in a larger can as opposed to a smaller can. But I'm thinking that the spacing of the electrodes in the capacitor are pretty well the same, so the only way to overcome the spacing is to have a higher voltage capacitor. So I'll just test with this and go from there.